trolls exist. They steal your socks, but only the left ones. What's with that?
Hello and welcome to the All Good Stories podcast, where we believe all good stories belong to Jesus. We're your hosts together in person, Chris Bowden
and Simon Campbell, and we're two millennial dads who love pop culture and making connections from the content we love to the God who loves us.
And in episode 25, it's only fun if you get a scar out of it, as we dig into the good stories and how to train your dragon. Well, hey there, Simon, and welcome back to All Good Stories.
It's been a while.
It has. It's been a while. So to catch us up just a little bit, I don't remember the last time that we released an episode. I mean, what, 6 months, maybe more?
15. It's now been 15 months.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So I think even in that time, like we had a kid in that time. So we're now a larger family. You know, part of that. So our son Harrison is officially in the mix. He's, that's my marker. He's
15
months out now. So I mean, it's been a long time. As you can tell, it has been a blur. But all that to say, I'm just delighted to be back in doing this. Along the way, we also moved, which is wise for any family that's having children. It's like, you know what? Let's just change everything at the same time.
Yes. Just dial in the chaos. Yeah.
But what that means is that we officially get to record in the same place.
Yes.
We're no longer, spoiler alert, an hour apart from each other in the way that we've always recorded this. So we're kind of changing things up as we jump back into this. So it feels a little clunky. Blame us, but also we're figuring it out.
Yeah, we'll get there.
That's right. But super, super excited to be jumping in for us to be in the same
No
place.
kidding. Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
Here, as we're jumping in, is How to Train Your Dragon, a movie that I have never seen up until this point.
Really?
Yeah, released in 2010, and for what, 15 years now? Yeah. It's just
I just missed you.
Absolutely, it just missed me on my radar. So, how about you?
I mean, I think I saw this originally, but then it's dormant because there was no kids in my house or anything like that. So, but then as we've watched it as a family, you kind of re-experience it, and then of course you get multiple rewatches of anything,
of any good story.
Good story gets lots of rewatches. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I got to come into this fresh as a movie that's been hyped to me for many years by friends and family saying, "Oh, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. Yeah. It's super great. Why haven't you seen it?" And happy to say it is a good story. So I'm really glad to be jumping into this one right off the bat as we're looking at it, when we're looking at the box office, even now we're looking at two different versions of How to Train Your Dragon that exist now too. So maybe that's a good question. I viewed the OG. I felt like that was the appropriate way to do it. Let's go to the original. So I jumped into the 2010 version and watched that. How about you?
Same. I have not seen the live action version yet.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really know how I feel about this.
What we could do is just make a really frustrating and useless episode that's just like, let's do this again, the 2025 version. Because I've heard it's just a shot-for-shot remake, right? Like they aren't changing anything. They are modifying the story. It would be interesting to be put up side by side to see how that holds up. But
I don't know if that would be like just an entire episode of Leave It. Like why do we need this?
Why do we need this?
Yeah.
Well, probably money based on what I'm seeing here. Because if you look at the box office, this made originally $495 million in 2010. A lot of money against a budget of $165 million. So it did just fine. It was the highest earner outside of Shrek for DreamWorks at this point. So they had the Shrek era that happened. And then all of a sudden How to Train Your Dragon hits the scene, and it's their next hit that's in play for them. And then this basically both fandom, multiple movies, all that inspired, hey, let's go back and do a shot-for-shot remake that was released in 2025 this past year. And that one, to compare, grossed even more money at $636 million. So what inflation or not is right. It is a higher earner against a lower budget. So the original budget in 2010 was 165. This budget was 150.
Okay, that makes me want to sneeze less.
Apparently it costs more to animate people than it does to film people. Is what that means.
Yeah.
And so I mean that means that it made more money and cost less money. So they're like, this worked out great for us. Really good decision for them as a studio. And then the critics, this is a well-reviewed movie.
Yes.
I mean, this is a beloved movie according to everybody. In 2010, it's a 99 Rotten Tomatoes score, which is insane. A 99 and a 91 audience score, so a little lower. And then in 2025, you get this fascinating swap where the critics give it a 77, which is mostly, as I looked at it, just because it's like, you did nothing new. This is the same thing. And they say it's still good. Like on its own, this is a good film, but you aren't creating any new material here. And then it is a 97 audience score. So the original was 91, still a beloved film.
Probably because it was the same.
Yeah, exactly what people wanted it to be, right? It's either we're going to do 97 because that's what we want it to be, or we're going to massacre you because you ruined a beloved film. I feel like there's no way to get around that. So kind of interesting flip there. But I mean, that's behind the numbers of How to Train Your Dragon. Very, very.
I think that's a good indication. Yeah.
And Simon, before we go any further, in case we need a refresher, I mean, I don't know, maybe you've seen it in 2025, maybe you've seen it in 2010, maybe like me, and you're like, I don't know, I have avoided this for decades, and here we are. Give us a refresher on what How to Train Your Dragon is all about.
Absolutely. So here's the story. In How to Train Your Dragon, Hiccup is a small Viking with a big heart and an even bigger talent for getting into trouble. He's supposed to be slaying dragons, but he ends up winging it and befriending one. When he meets Toothless, a fearsome night fury who turns out to be more cuddle than catastrophe, Hiccup discovers that the real battle isn't against dragons, but against old ideas that need to be grounded. As their friendship takes flight, Hiccup proves that sometimes the bravest things that you can do is not breathe fire, but to blow away fear, and changing his village one dragon-sized misunderstanding at a time. By the end, he is not just a Viking hero. He's something rarer, a true Prince of Peace.
Oh, look at you go. You're just going to Jesus juke it right there. Like, I wonder what belongs to Jesus in this story. That's awesome. How great to be right across from you for all the dad jokes. But I can just reach right across and go, what are you doing? That's great.
Oh, man.
All right, Simon, we've got an opportunity to just talk about the rent-free replay. What are a few moments in this movie that are just on repeat in your head? They're just living there rent-free for you.
I mean, I think the iconic scene in this movie is like when he reaches out his hand, to Toothless's like muzzle or whatever. Like it's the shot that they showed in the trailer for the remake.
Okay.
And even like when we watch it as a family, like the girls hold out their hands.
No way. That's super. Okay. That's really good.
So like, I just think that that's because of the soundtrack and the music and this like kind of pivotal moment. I think that one is like, you kind of play over and
yeah, just kind of locked it in your head. It's a good one. Similar yet different one for me, again, because of the music and the build and the moment, is when like they first take flight together, like successfully. You've got like the payoff from the Rocky montage of like training and unsuccessful attempt, and you finally arrive, and I think you get like the full-fledged theme of the movie for the first time. And man,
it's
what
a great
3 to 4 minute scene of them like both flying and then having some panic in mid-flight and then figuring it out together and kind of abandoning his note sheet right as they kind of come into that. I have just thought about that scene over the last few days after watching this. I'm like, that was just cool. And then, of course, went immediately to Spotify and went, well, take that song and put that on my playlist. Was really, really great. So that was one that has literally sat in my head for the last few days. It's been fun.
And the only other thing that I can really think of that like lives rent free in my mind is like going through all of the taxonomy of the dragons in the
like in the dragon book that they have. Yeah.
like scores and like
Sure, they have like quote. What's the repeating quote that they have in the book? It's like extremely dangerous, still on site or something like that. So over and over, I'm picking up a theme here.
that one guy who played McLovin who like is the voice actor who's just like spouting out the dragon facts.
Who that is? The whole movie, I'm going like, who is that? Who is that? Who is that? Like, I know that voice because one of the others is Jonah Hill, right? Who like plays like kind of the bully type character of it. And I was like, okay, I got him pinpointed, and that's a great choice. But thank you for solving that mystery.
So he's like spouting off these like 300 speed, like I don't know. For me,
that is such a good like video game, almost D&D reference, but also just like sports.
And any millennial who has like collected Pokemon cards or whatever.
Oh man, yeah, there it is. Yep, right in your head. That's awesome. All right, Simon, the real reason why we're here is really to say, hey, what in this movie belongs to Jesus? What are some unique themes, moments, or reminders of where we can see Jesus on display in the story? Because really what we're aiming to do is going like, hey, how can we better see Jesus in these everyday moments of our lives? Whether movies or not, like Jesus is in all of this. And the better we get at recognizing where he's at, better we're going to be at simply like just following him and remembering him and integrating him in all these other parts of our lives. And so what's one of the first things for you that you think really belongs to Jesus in this movie?
I think there's some really cool kind of internal struggle in this ideological thing going on in Burke and their posture towards dragons and all this other stuff. So like dragons are not a good deal at the beginning of the movie. You see them immediately as the enemy and just like a huge obstacle to the way of life. And then at the end, you see them as something completely different.
A complete embrace by the end. Seeing this for the first time, I was like, how long has he been unconscious? Like, that's amazing.
And there are 2 times in the movie where like it kind of comes like the change starts to happen. And in both, so first it's Hiccup who sees what he's done to Toothless when he like captures him and he's sitting there wounded. He just sits there and looks at him and says, I did this. And then everything kind of changes. So he sees himself differently. He sees Toothless differently. He sees this whole conflict differently. And the second time that happens is at the end of the movie when Stoic, Hiccup's father, does the same thing. And he looks at Toothless on the ground after the fight with the alpha dragon and all this other stuff. And it appears that Hiccup is done and gone.
Oh, yes.
And he looks at them and he says, I did this. And kind of comes to this moment. And I really think, where this reminds me of our stories with Jesus is that these are moments of realization and confession. Like both of these characters, in order to be transformed inwardly, they have to first see themselves realistically in what they've done.
Yeah, right. They get a look at reality, right? Like as we often do with Jesus, these moments where I go, oh, this is as bad as it is.
And I'm in this situation because I did this.
Yeah.
I put myself here. And I think like, from almost anybody's like really anybody's story with Jesus, the kind of the moment before the transformation happens often is preceded by this like huge realization of like, I did this. I put myself in this situation.
Yeah, right.
I'm completely like unable to do anything about my sin or like,
suddenly we see a gap of need that's been created.
Yeah. And the brokenness of this situation or the loss or the failure, we see ourselves of like, I did this, I put myself here. And that's what happens right before the moment of transformation where they begin to see things differently and their heart changes and all these things. So I think that that's a moment that really belongs to Jesus, because I think anybody who has walked a story like that of living your life one way and then coming to understanding like, no, Jesus is real. This is not like the world is different than what I expected it to be. Something has changed. Like right before that change truly happens, we see ourselves in this like really realistic, raw
It's
way.
real. Like you can't go to the person who's going to fix your need if you don't recognize that there is a need in play, right? Like I find that was part of my story of like kind of hard for me to see how I needed Jesus when I felt like things were pretty good. Like I'm figuring out on my own. I'm doing fine. Things are great. I don't need Jesus, right? I can figure it out until I could. I'm like, oh, I'm a disaster, right? I think that's really, really great. Similar yet different for me. One thing for it was in that same scene, and he doesn't say it in the moment, but talks about it later. I think he's talking to Astrid, where he says it really plainly of like, I looked at him and I saw myself. Right. Like there's this like humanization that happened, which just made me think of like, that's what Jesus did in our story, in a very, very different way. But it was like John 1:14, the word became flesh and made his dwelling among us, where Jesus could look at us and say, hey, I see you, I get you, I understand you, where it's like he drew near, he sees us who we actually are. And while we were still enemies, Christ died for us, right?
Yes,
like while we're still enemies, right? It's like here it's Hiccup in this environment of like, we are absolutely enemies. And I am able to see or recognize, I think the quote is like, everything about you we think about you is wrong. Right. And that again, another great quote on its own. But it was just really, really stood out to me, where it was like just like, kind of mirrors Jesus' way of just engaging his enemies, us. At one time we were his enemies, right? He said, no, I'm not gonna just go into this the way everyone thinks this is gonna go. Like I'm gonna choose to bring you in and truly understand you, so you can truly understand me, right? And bridge this gap together, which is pretty cool. I like that a lot. And it was the other story for me was Luke 7. It was 11-15, where it's soon afterward Jesus went to a town called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd went along with him. As he approached the town gate, a dead person was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. And a large crowd from the town was with her. And this is the key. He says, when the Lord saw her, his heart went out to her, and he said, don't cry. And he saw her, and his heart went out to her. Here's Hiccup, who does exactly what he's supposed to do, right? Like he's done the thing, he's down to dragon, he's gonna have his moment. And then he saw him. Like he actually saw him. He got up close and personal enough to actually see that, oh, this maybe isn't what I expected, and his heart went out to him. And so I was like, oh gosh, that's a pretty fun theme hiding in there.
And there's just like, there's full of those moments. You feel them. And I think when kids are watching this, they feel those moments, that shift that's happening. And so I think it's just such a great opportunity for us, like to see like how that change can happen in our own heart. How God was for us even before. Like I love that, while we were still enemies, right? So
and if I jump ahead to like the so what of it all, right? Like I'm gonna pull the audible and grab that early. But I look at the so what, and it's really going like, God has commanded us to love your enemies, right? Like that gets really clear and really practical. And usually what that requires is like, can I get close enough to my enemies to actually see their perspective and what that looks, whether I agree or not. At the end of the day, that may not be some magical solution of like, oh, now we see each other, and that may not happen. But I need to be close enough to see and recognize that you are loved just as much as I am by Jesus, right? Like you are not some monster, you are not some big wicked thing out there, even if you're doing wicked things, right? Like that's not how Jesus is wanting to approach you, or me to approach you, right? He wants me to see you as someone else who can be saved and redeemed and loved and known and a part of this family together. And that'll get me going.
It's great. Oh, it's great. One of the other things that stood out to me in this story that reminded me of Jesus was just like the Hiccup's character as he goes on. Like there's these moments where it appears at one time, like on the outside looking in, like he's making progress with the dragons, and like he's doing his dragon training, and he's like all of a sudden really good at it.
Yes.
Not in the way that,
He's just got away with them. Yeah.
so he's doing all the, and he's, passing with flying colors of controlling these dragons, but it's not out of like the, out of his fighting prowess or anything. Like he's
Yes.
not fighting the dragons.
Not in
He's
the way
just
that anyone
understanding
else would
them,
expect
right?
you to.
Right. And so I think that the thing that reminds me of Jesus in that is like Burke was looking for us, like they were looking for a savior for their city. Like the dragons was a huge problem. Like
Yeah.
Stoic was going off to try to like destroy.
Yeah, we're gonna try to
the
solve
nest.
this
Yes,
thing, right?
yeah.
And I think it's Astrid when she's upset is like, "Hey, our parents' fight is about to become our fight, right?
Yes,
Like this is a generational issue we're dealing with here."
Yes. And so, when it appears that Hiccup is taking these steps, he almost gets this like messianic treatment of like, oh man, he's the next, he's the
one.
promised
He's
son,
the one.
right?
Yeah. Have you seen Dune?
Yeah.
Or is
Yeah.
that like, oh, Lisa Nogai, but it's like, oh, here he is. Like that's exactly what is happening right now.
Yeah. No, you're right. And so they're like, they're celebrating him. He has this like Palm Sunday moment almost where, like everybody is like,
That's right.
rocking
Yeah,
in
let's
his
go.
ring.
Yeah.
And then he everything changes. He's not he's not the savior they expected.
Yeah.
He's not the figure that they were expecting him to be.
Mhm.
And everything, and then it all flips, like they're completely against him. And I think that just, that reminds me of Jesus's story for obvious reasons. He came to the world to save it. Everyone in the world at that time had a lot of expectations of what that might look like, of being a military hero, a fighter.
That's right. We're gonna get him. Yeah.
We're gonna defeat the Romans and all the enemies that have plagued the people of God for such a long time. And that's not like what Jesus
Not
came
how it
to
goes
do.
down.
He did all of those things.
Mhm,
He
mhm.
defeated them. He
And
defeated
before he
them.
does, they all turn on him.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
he celebrated and then rejected and crucified. And so that that concept of like that verse out of Psalms and then is quoted in Matthew and Acts. The stone that the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone.
Oh, I love that. Yes. Yeah.
Because what we see in Hiccup's trajectory in this movie and then in the following ones is he becomes the cornerstone of that community. He's the new chief. He's the leader into the future. And so like and becomes the savior that they needed, but the one that they weren't expecting.
It's perfect.
Yeah,
man. So you gave us like the most obvious of parallels to Jesus. I even had a moment where I'm like, oh, it's kind of a shot for shot, isn't it? Like, wow, that's really good.
I think when you take a look at that, it's just it's cool to find those connections in the stories and realize, okay, like because this is a good story, because Hiccup is such a compelling character, there's gonna be those connections to the person of Jesus.
Because one of the things for me was like, in it, Hiccup makes the sacrifice play, right? In this story. Like he's like, we're gonna figure out whatever it takes. We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
And he crashes out, and we think his story is over, that he's died in the midst of this, and he hasn't, but
descends into flames, no less.
Ooh, look at you go! Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, there's some good imagery and symbolism there, and so what I loved was that he wins, but he loses his leg. Right? It's not without cost. It's not without pain. It's not without sacrifice. I mean, Jesus had scars in his hands, right? Like there's a marker that this happened. Like this was real. Even the disciples like, well, let me see your hands, right? Let me see your side, right? He's marked by it. And in the same way, Hiccup is marked by his experience. And I think what that kind of hit me was like just a reminder of like, like salvation and obedience costs something, right? In one time or in one way or another, you can be fully victorious. You're still going to bear scars, and like glory in those wounds are like held together in the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you're living a Christian life, God does not promise you a lack of suffering, right?
Right.
Which it's like just a hard hard pill to swallow. But we have the
Tough, yeah.
greatest grace and loving Father in the world to be with us in all of those things. But I was like, yeah, at some point, if I am being obedient to Jesus, like, yeah, I might lose a leg, or I might miss out on an opportunity, or I might have to say no or yes to something that is really challenging to other people's expectations.
Yeah.
And take some shots for that. I don't know. I don't know what's going to be or what's going to look like.
Yeah.
But there's so many examples where it's like the rich young ruler in the Bible doesn't. Like, he doesn't want to pay that cost. Like, what's it going to take for me to be fully obedient? Okay, I don't want to do that. Like, I can't go all the way. Or like Paul, like, everything he gains is through loss, basically, right? I think he talks about in Philippians where it's like, whatever gains to me now, I consider lost for the sake of Christ, right? Like, I just continue to think about that. It's like the disciples left the nets behind. They left their whole livelihood. They left their families. Like I don't know if they say goodbye. They just went. He said, "Come with me," and they went. And so it's a small moment, but I thought it was very cool that the hero of the story doesn't come out unscathed. It's not like this perfect story of like everything came out okay. Like, he lost a leg. Like, that's a big deal. Now, it's cool because it's very Viking of them, and he kind of fits in a little bit more. I'm like, okay, now he looks cooler. I get that element. Like, that's pretty neat. But I just went like, oh yeah, you'll go through this life with Jesus, and you'll have some scars. Like, you'll have some things that beat you up. But you've got a heavenly Father that like loves you and is with you in it. Like, obedience to him. Like, you just still, you can't go wrong, even if it's costly.
100%. And those are the things that even those, even that what the thing that marked him, binds him to Toothless and his community even more. Like, all of those things, we can find common ground in that.
That's right. I loved when they were like walking out of his house and they did the shot where it's Toothless's tail alongside his legs. And I was like, there they are. Because that was one of my favorite things of realizing watching the movie, when they were like, I'm like, oh, he's just not learning how to like train your dragon or ride it right. Like they are dependent on one another.
Yes.
Like, they have to do this thing
They're
together,
linked.
or neither of them can really do this. And I was like, okay, that's I did not expect that in the story, and that was pretty great.
I mean, I teased this earlier, but I think the other connection to Jesus in this story is the idea of Hiccup as a Prince of Peace. The promise of the promise of Jesus is, the defeat of enemies, yes, but like after, with that, you become, you're loving your enemies, and people who could not be together are now together.
Yes.
Like heaven is filled with people who are enemies of each other, right? And the lion and the lamb and the swords into plowshares, and just like
nice reference.
What you're walking out into at the end of the movie is this community that's no longer marked by their enemies of the dragons, but it's marked by their like living side by side, something that seemed impossible at one time,
and they're better for it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you look at, like everything seems better.
Yes.
Like, they're all kind of getting the things they were missing out on. One random side note here is like, what I loved was in the shot where they like showed the town, they had like the giant like fire like stands that like went up, and they're defending the city.
Yes.
And I looked out, and like there's one of them in the little town, and now it's just filled with fish. And I'm like, oh, they've even repurposed things for like this new reality. It just made me giggle. I was like, oh, of course, that's great.
And that's a mark, I think, of somebody who is like Jesus. Is you can bring people together, and you can people that can coexist with one another and love one another. That, according to like how the world works, it's not possible,
an
right?
Increasingly uncommon thing, right? Like the more that we become like, or are divided, polarized, we're in our camps, we're in our social media bubbles, whatever it is that's causing all these gaps. The bridge builders are rare. And the world's hungry for it. Like, it needs it. It's like water in a desert when someone can do that really, really well. And I think people who believe in Jesus are like absolutely like in a spot here and now in this place and time with like, if there's one uniquely healthy thing we can do for the world to paint a different picture and show the power of who Jesus is, like, man, being a bridge builder of communities and people, I think just is and has to be one of
wonderful.
them.
Yeah.
It's like
Has to be a sign. Yeah.
yes, I think it's got to be, and it's going to tell you when we play out like, oh, how you really following Jesus, or you following some other sort of mandate or
Right.
priority, right?
Right.
Like that's going to be pretty telling as well.
100%.
The last thing for me that I thought belonged to Jesus, just this idea of like belonging and identity just isn't earned. This whole thing of the story is like Hiccup's struggle is trying to like earn belonging in a system that defines it by very specific things like
Be one of
strength,
us.
violence, conformity. Like you're not one of us. You are or you aren't, whether you fit these certain things. Because the world over and over says, "Hey, become this, and then you belong. Agree with me, and then you belong."
Yeah.
Like let's see if you're really this. Right. Let's see if
If you're really a
you,
Viking, you do these Viking things.
that
Yeah.
that's exactly right. Yeah, if you're really a Democrat, if you're really a Republican, right? Like if you really want to go there, it's like can you really? Are you like where do you land, right? But Jesus offers a totally different story, right? He says like you belong, you belong, period, right? Now, in light of your belonging, let's become who you're really meant to be, right?
Yes.
And I felt that as I watched the story, where it's like,
Because really it goes from a moment at the beginning where Haber or whatever his name is talking to Hiccup and you just stop being all of this.
it's like
You
you're-
just
all of me. It's like exactly.
And at the end, his father said, "We just need a little bit more of this."
Yes, and he goes, "Oh, it's all of
Gesturing
me."
to
Yeah,
all of me.
yeah. It's just that turn of that is so great. It was like, yeah, his dad says he's proud of him. Like now, Hiccup is having his kind of moment of brilliance there, but it's like not necessarily after success or after victory. It's just like he gets to see son for who he actually is, you know. And he's not having to turn into something else in order to get there. It's like, no, you have a father that loves his son for who he actually is, where he's actually at. And now that you've built that bridge, it's like, okay, now we can move forward, right? Now we can grow in this relationship, which is, I mean, relevant to my story with Jesus, where it was like, I finally let him into my story. And God was like, all right, we can work with that. You know, like let's go. Now that you're here, here's all these things I have for you. Like here's what I want for you. That legitimately is just like fun, challenging, but also like very fun to figure out with Jesus as you continue to go in a relationship with him and follow him. So that's a big one for me. All right, Simon, all this conversation is great. It's fun, but we'd be remiss if we didn't ask, so what?
So what?
Like who cares, right?
How does this matter?
Yeah, exactly. How does this actually apply to our daily lives? I mean, it's great to talk about. It's another thing to go like, all right, if we were to watch this with our family, and like, all right, how do we make this kind of actionable? Let's have you go first here. How might you set us up? So what?
Well, I think when you're watching this with kids, with your family, like I think one of the first ways, okay, where are the places that I can say something like, this reminds me of Jesus because, right? And whether that's Hiccup making peace, like we talked about, whether it's going through kind of the Palm Sunday moment where like, oh, they really liked him and then they rejected him. He wasn't the person, the savior that they expected, right? But I think that there's a real opportunity for kids, particularly because you watch Hiccup's story and he's facing all kinds of pressure from other people to believe a certain way, to do certain things, to to live life according to how everyone else is, right?
Yeah.
And what does that feel like? Our kids, feel that, particularly if they're have a desire to follow Jesus. That's going to feel really familiar in terms of like, well, how do you think Hiccup is feeling when he has to do something different from all of his friends, to live a different way than all of his friends? What does that feel like? How might he be feeling lonely? Is that still the right thing? Yeah. These are opportunities for us to talk with our kids about any pressures that they might be facing or feeling, depending on where they are in their relationship with Jesus. But even just like recognizing that different families have different rules and all of those different things, I think, or even just prepping them for the fact that like, well, because we believe in Jesus, our family makes different decisions. We believe different things. So we might do things different than everybody else seems to be. And that's okay. It might be hard. It might feel lonely, but
Yeah.
that's okay. So I think
Yeah.
I think just watching a character that believes in something different, is facing those social pressures, is a really good opportunity for our kids, really of any age, but particularly those who are in with friends and kind of feeling
Yeah.
some of those things, those
Yeah.
tugs to do the things that their friends are doing.
Yeah, and I'll zoom up a little bit. And one of the things I've just appreciated as we've done this segment and here again and again is your consistency of like what you're doing in your approach here is you're creating like a perspective of empathy for your kids of like, oh, how do you think he felt, or how might have you felt if or when, like the fact that you're getting your kids to think about that and
Mhm.
ask those questions and kind of put their feet in somebody else's shoes,
Yes.
super important.
It's a much safer place for kids to do that through someone else's story, because sometimes when those big things are happening to us, we're not clear enough. Like we have our emotions are so big,
Everything starts, yeah.
it's hard to like understand how that might be a similar thing might be happening to me. But as I'm watching somebody on the screen go through something like that, and I'm not as like viscerally experiencing that, I'm not in it. Like I can learn from that situation differently
Mhm.
than I can like if I'm feeling like the outsider among my friends at school,
Yeah.
and just like that feels different. So being able to draw things out of other stories is really like that's one of the reasons why we do this,
Mhm.
because if we can build that skill and looking at how Jesus shows up in other people's stories, that's going to help us in our own,
Yeah.
when we face those situations.
Yes. And I think that was just simple question asking, right? It's like, it's not always that, like, I don't have to suddenly like provide like some sort of answer or some sort of
Oh, no.
perfect
Yeah.
sentence or like, here is the lesson that this is like, no, it's like, I got to test this out with my daughter.
Yeah.
She's 3 years old now,
Mhm.
which is nuts and awesome. And this new term I have heard of three-nager is so great. Like just on the nose. I love her so much. And I also go like, you feel very strongly about the world. Like we've got some feelings to work. Uh but it was great because we watched the start of this movie and Toothless is injured, right? And I go, oh man. And she goes, oh no, Dad, that is a boo-boo. I'm like, yeah, he does have a boo-boo. Like, how do you think he feels? Like, oh, hurt. And I'm like, oh yeah, I bet that does hurt. I'm like, well, what's he doing? Like Hiccup. I'm like, is he helping him? Like, he's being nice to him? She's like, yeah. I could just she's just like emotionally invested. Like, is he going to be okay?
Yeah.
And so I just got to ask of like, how's it feel to know that he's helping him? She goes, oh, that's good. That's good. And no, we did not get to the Jesus of it all,
No, but
right?
yeah.
But I'm kind of reading her in the moment and like allowing the permission of like, we do not have to be quiet watching this movie,
Yeah.
right? Like you are three.
And really the other thing I love about this is like it gives us as parents something to do when our kids are watching something. Like it brings us into participation with them. Like I think it is it granted. Now there's plenty of times where a movie has been going on and we are trying to do something else as parents, right?
That's exactly
We
right.
like 100% real
I
about that.
I would love for you to watch the Paw Patrol Christmas special again. That sounds great.
And it doesn't always have to be that way. And we can be participants in this story with them and start shaping what they're seeing. So whether
Mhm.
it's little prompts like that, but yeah, I think just like empathy with the characters, recognizing those places that remind you of Jesus. Uh, even when at the end of the movie when Stoic kind of comes to his senses and we watch this relationship with him and Hiccup, his son, change. Like even just calling out, oh, did you notice how Hiccup forgave his dad? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
like, did you notice how his daddy said sorry? Those are things that like, that's why it's so important for us to forgive each other. Like all these are opportunities for us to have real conversations with our kids and often spiritual ones, right?
Yeah, you get these like quote real life examples in a very like entertaining context
Oh, yeah.
of like, hey, do you remember when you talked about that
Yeah.
at church? Like, was that a lesson that you learned at
Yes.
church? Like, are you seeing that
Oh, yeah.
there?
He's forgiving.
And
We talked about
yeah,
forgiving
yeah,
in church.
yeah.
Right.
This is another thing. I like. It's so fun to have a 3-year-old because these are the start of these conversations that are actually happening, right? And you can see that little like. I'm like, all right, we'll get there. Yeah, but every once in a while, she's like, yeah. And you can start to see these things click.
And oh my goodness, there's just as many times where it just goes straight over their head and like, weird looks across the couch of
this
like,
means nothing. Okay,
like,
great,
okay,
great.
this didn't hit. You still heard it. You still heard it. It's probably in there somewhere.
That's right.
Doesn't always have to land.
Yeah. I mean, the number of times that adults have had conversations with me where I'm sure they look at me and they go like, okay, he's just not gonna he'll get
No,
it later.
exactly. And we just don't know what is sinking in and what's not, or what will bloom later and all that other stuff. Like, just, these are not like once and for all opportunities. This is just getting us better at finding more of them.
Yeah.
And finding more of those opportunities. Yeah.
The last 10 principle for me is just I think I've hinted at it already, so I'll keep it short, but it's just like we live in such a time where that theme of loving your enemies is what's going to make the difference. I think for us as people who follow Jesus, if there's a so what of it all, I go like, hey, Hiccup was the character who got close enough to an enemy to see something different, to see opportunity, to see a different story, to see something that humanized, where it's like, oh, we do have something in common. We do have a connection. There is something that still binds us together, that it can be true, certainly if we both believe in Jesus, but also true in our human experience on its own. God has made us this way, designed us this way. We are relatable in so many more ways than we are probably different. And the world would love us to tell a different story about that, of like, how could you ever, engage or entertain or even be near, whatever. And Jesus came in proximity to all of it. Like the guy had no concerns getting close to people who were wildly different. And like part of what got him in so much trouble was just his willingness to go across the line into territory that, the right people would never
enter the
go.
world of the dragons. Right.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Love that.
Simon, it is time at long last for some hot takes, for some love it or leave it, an opportunity for us to just throw some things out there and see how they stick. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's go.
So, love it or leave it. This is a softball. We're getting back into this, right? Love it or leave it. The music for this movie.
I mean, that's a clear love it for sure.
Yeah.
For all the reasons that we've talked about before. I think because I think it's unlikely that we do all three How to Train Your Dragons. My favorite one is, and this is a rent-free replay for us too, is in the second movie. They bring in with the composer that did the first one. I don't remember what the name is right now, but they bring in an Icelandic band called Sigur Rós, and they do Sigur Rós brings their unique flavor on top of an orchestral score.
Oh, that's cool.
And
and it works.
It works.
Yeah.
And it's one of our kids' favorites to like replay in the house. So they do dance parties to this, and then they pretend that they're toothless and pick up and like reenact the flying scenes and stuff like that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. All right, so you heard it here first. Go find the soundtrack for How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, hide in there.
And I think it's the first track of the soundtrack.
Oh, they know what to lead with. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Where it's called Where No One Goes.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I'll up it further. Love it or leave it. I think that this soundtrack is the best soundtrack of any DreamWorks animated movie.
I mean, you're competing with Smash Mouth, so I mean, you got that going for you.
I knew the stakes were high.
So otherwise, you've got. Trying to think of what else is on the table there. This will be the kicker. Is The Prince of Egypt a DreamWorks movie? This is the question.
Oh no, you might be right.
A few moments later.
The Prince of Egypt was produced by DreamWorks Animation.
Okay. Okay. I don't
So,
even
leave it.
I don't even,
Leave it. I'm going to say that the Prince of Egypt is still the real banger out there.
so true.
Which is so great. That was one of my moments that felt so great in my marriage, where Marcy had never seen the Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
I was like, you gotta see this. She's like, this is like an animated movie.
Uh-huh.
And just like about like the Exodus story.
Yeah.
I'm like, you gotta trust me on this one. You gotta watch. It's like, okay, we got it. And she's like, that was pretty good. So, yeah, I'm gonna say leave it, man. That's
All
great.
right.
It does not reach the
Fair.
highest tier, but man, in general for soundtracks for movies, that
It's
very
good.
very impressed.
Another one for me, love it or leave it. All of the Vikings for some reason being Scottish.
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna say I love it. I think it's a great choice, because otherwise we got to pick something, right? Like, let's identify that somewhere. But it is interesting that I'm like, I don't know, is that the primary area for Vikings? Probably not where they originated from.
That's
but
okay.
it's a good choice. I mean,
It is.
You get what's his face playing the dad.
Gerard Butler.
Yeah, say no more. Done.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me.
Craig Ferguson as the blacksmith dude.
That's also an excellent
also
choice.
good.
So good. Love it or leave it. The names of the characters and dragons in the movie.
I mean, I'll leave this because like I don't think that like the idea of Snotlout and like whatever.
Yeah, what do we got? Deadly Natter, Gronkle, Hideous Zippleback.
Oh, the names of
the
the
names
dragons.
of the dragons.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
okay.
names of the
All in,
characters-
love it.
Names of the characters less.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
here's the other thing though, and I'll temper this because this is actually based on a book series.
What?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
All
And
right.
there are lots of books of them apparently, so they're on our reading list of eventually getting to.
Okay. All right. Well, that was
But-
going to be my next question. Like,
yeah.
have you read?
I have not
books?
read
All right.
any of those said books, but I wonder if the reason that those characters are named the way they are is because
It's
it's
all
straight out
tied
of the
to
book. In
yeah.
which, if you're creating a rugged Viking world and having these like ridiculous names of
Because you feel like all the names have to be like grunts and gurgle sounds,
Yeah.
like do like brah, 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 brah,
Yeah,
brah. It's almost like the picture, almost like the Tim Allen, like or like brah, 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 brah. Like they're Vikings. It's just kind of what you have to embrace. Like Gobber, great name for a Viking.
Yeah.
I was like, I love it. I'm in on
Having
that one.
Stoic the Vast is a great name. It's a great name.
So we got a mix. We got a mix of loving and leaving it. It's good.
So I mean, but in terms of like, I like Snotlout or whatever. Like, good gracious, like
I hate that sentence.
Why do you even say that? No.
Okay, here's my last one for you. Love it or leave it, and I might play my cards a little bit of the animation style for this movie generally.
I mean, I think that this holds up over multiple viewings and over the time. I would say generally, like all the flight sequences, all the dragon stuff is really good. The characters themselves, it's kind of like watching old Toy Story a little bit, like the original.
They have a little bit like the Dead Eyes effect.
Yeah. You have a little bit of like, oh man, this is not, we hadn't figured out human skin yet, or whatever. Like,
That's right. That's right. There's an element missing into it. Yeah.
So, but other than that, it's not too distracting.
Yeah, no, that's good. And yeah, what I was leading into there was like, for me, it is it's a leave it for me. Like the choreography of everything that's happening is incredible. Yeah. Like that's a love it. I'm super impressed by that, making all that work and having the dragons especially. But when it came to the people of it all, and even some of the design styles for like how the dragons are designed themselves, I'm like, I do not want to look at like another like cylindrically shaped dragon in my life. I'm like, what is this bulky round mass of a dragon?
So you don't like the Grunkles?
What you said, yes, that. I look and I go, what are
the big beefy ones?
Yes, you're like a bee. I'm like, I do not like looking at that. I'm like, gross. I don't like that. But generally, it is of that era for me of like mid to late aughts, of the 2000s, where some of the animation was just gross. Where I feel there was a movie that came out, I think, called like Monster House in that same era, and you look at them and you're like, these are frightening looking children.
Don't look at the fish too closely either. In this, in How to Train Your Dragon, like it's just like,
yeah. So it's just like it's of the era where I look at this, and it like takes me out of it when I watched it. I was like, oh, okay.
Maybe you do need the live action version.
See, this is what did we just justify it for them? Of like, oh well, if you think that's weird, do we have something for you?
So funny.
Well, all good things must come to an end, including this podcast.
Thanks again for joining us for episode 25. Wow. We hope that this has been a great one for you and a return back to something good. But our greatest desire is that this is doing for you what it's doing for us, giving us a chance to shape the way we look at movies and sparking spiritual conversations around them.
Yeah, and we'd love for you to help keep the conversation going. We are just two silly perspectives in the mix here, kind of offering up a word noticing, which means you are noticing things along the way as well. And we would love to hear from you, whether that's on our social media platforms or in any other way. I guess social media is the only way to get in touch with us. So do that. Reach out to us on Instagram. That's the place. At All Good Stories Podcast. We'd love to keep the conversation. We'd love to keep hearing from you. It has meant the world to us and been surprising and fun for people to ask us, like, are you gonna ever do that again? We kind of actually liked it. And I was like, you missed us? That's pretty cool. So thank you for your encouragement. Thanks for listening and jumping on in alongside us.
And remember, all good stories belong to Jesus.
And if you choose to give your story to Jesus, you can be sure he'll make it a good one.